So today I want to talk a little bit about emotional eating and its impact on self-worth and how they're tied in together. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist specializing in emotional eating. And I wanted to talk about self-worth because usually this is what we're chasing by trying the diets, doing the exercise, trying to get rid of our emotional eating. We feel a lot of shame around this coping mechanism, and we think if we could finally get rid of it, we wouldn't feel the shame and we would feel, at peace, we would have confidence, we would have self-worth. But what is actually driving this is our sense of low self-worth. So when we have this pattern, it means that when we were younger, we didn't have the modeling from our parents or caregivers to move through our discomfort, our distress, our uncomfortable emotions. We weren't seen or heard or validated in our experience. And when this happens to a child, their sense of worth and value falls to the wayside. They think something's wrong with them. They're being rejected because they're not being seen in their experience. And so they start looking, what will make me worthy? At the same time of feeling this rejection and this discomfort is this shame that you're not good enough. And so you're trying to deal with these uncomfortable emotions in your body, but also looking for ways to help you feel more worthy about yourself. And so what happens is that you use food, emotional eating, you use food as a coping mechanism to deal with the discomfort, the distress, the shame that comes up. Sometimes when you're chasing after the things that'll give you the self-worth. So you chase the diet and you're like, if I can finally make this stick, I'll be worthy because I'll have the right body. If I work out enough, if I'm able to get rid of my emotional eating or fight my urges, I'll finally be good enough. And this is sort of like that broken record in our head. I'll finally be good enough. I'll finally not feel this way. Life will be great. I'll finally feel loved and accepted. This is all going on this deeper level. But what's driving this is this sense of not feeling worthy. And I'm going to say something that took me a really long time to truly embody and truly understand. And having my son really clarified this for me is that we are born worthy. We are born deserving of, we are born worthy and we are born deserving of all that we need to exist. A baby isn't born saying, a baby isn't born having to earn its worth or earn its needs. Of course, if we go further along that, if we don't have the parents and caregivers meeting those needs, the internalized message we get is that, we're not worthy. We're not valuable enough for our needs to be met. But if you look at a really, really tiny baby, they can't do anything for themselves. They can't work to provide food for themselves. They can't work to provide love for themselves. They are, and they receive, love and acceptance, and we don't take that away from them. Hopefully, in most cases, we can all see that. And it doesn't change. There's not some point in your life because you become garbage. There's not some point in your life you become not enough. What happens is that we hit up against the limitations of our parents and caregivers, in fact, in our society, of really seeing us, valuing us, hearing us, and attuning to us. And that, as a young child, developmentally in our mind, we're going to think something's wrong with us. We're going to feel rejected. We're going to feel shame. And we can't give that validation and seeing ourselves at this young age. We really need that from a capable adult. We need that in that container. And so as we grow, as we're dealing with this shame and discomfort that's getting triggered around us, we use food as a main coping mechanism. You might have other coping mechanisms. Maybe you also learn to people please. So you're trying to do the right thing to get the love and acceptance and validation. Part of it could be being in the right body to get the love and acceptance and validation. But when that shame comes up, the way that you soothe and you can disconnect from that, or maybe you get criticized, is by using food. because food sort of numbs that feeling. It soothes us. It's a temporary relief. It feels good eating lots of food. Our body biochemically reacts to that. And so this is how we're dealing with that shame and that discomfort and that sense of not feeling worthy. And so how do we unpack this? How do we move through this? How do we get to the other side of feeling worthy as we are, of feeling deserving? Well, we have to do the deeper work. There's no roundabout way through this. It's really getting into the core root of where this was created. And sometimes I have clients say, I had a roof over my head. My parents were, we lived this great lifestyle. But when I get into what's really driving this pattern, it's a sense of not being seen, not being emotionally met. And this is so important to our development. This is so important for us to be seen. This is just a core need of a human, to be seen and heard and valued. And in that, we are reflected back, mirrored back, that we are worthy. And our parents and caregivers are meant to be a mirror to us. They're not meant to take us and, distort the mirror, which is what happens. We get a distorted view of who we are. And we internalize that because we don't have someone there to really, truly see us. And so how do we move through this? How do we get to that worthiness? How do we resolve our emotional eating? So when I'm working with clients, the doorway is into the pattern. And it's really to start noticing specific instances you're triggered into your emotional eating, because you might have other coping mechanisms. We're really looking at emotional eating because it impacts you physically. If you're eating copious amounts of foods or foods that are not good for your body, it's impacting your physical body as well, and you fall deeper into this spiral. And so it's about finding those triggers, learning to discern true from emotional hunger, learning to nourish your body, so that this is a step in creating that healthy relationship with yourself and giving yourself what you didn't have, in meeting those needs. Because I find with a lot of my clients, they fall into the diet mentality. They're very critical of themselves. They're judging themselves. And nourishing your body isn't about just eating whatever you want. It is, like it says, nourishing your body. You're not going to put all these punishing rules. You're getting to know your body, your true hunger, how food feels in your body, what makes you feel energized, what digests well in your body, so you can nourish it and support it so you can move throughout your day. And there's also a lot of shame around how we eat that can trigger emotional eating. And then also looking at how we are with our body. Where are we trying to get a certain body to feel self-worth? Are we chasing a certain body to finally feel accepted? Are we ignoring our body's cues for rest or movement because we have to work long hours? We're chasing certain things to be validated and accepted externally and not listening to ourselves. Or just physically how we look. So that shame triggers emotional eating. We're shifting that. And of course, we have to get into the deeper roots of this pattern and start giving yourself what you needed in terms of that, seeing yourself, accepting those emotions, moving through them, finally meeting your deeper emotional needs so you can get to the other side. And that's where we really start healing this pattern, because food has been a band-aid for this. Food has been a band-aid to meeting those deeper needs, to seeing yourself. Once you're able to do that, that's how you start building deeper sense of self-worth, a deeper sense of peace and confidence. Literally in your body, you shift that. Because if we circle back, you were born worthy. You didn't have to earn your right to be here. Anything that you're chasing externally is not going to fill your internal self-worth. That's an inside job. That's something we have to do internally. And so for emotional eaters, it's really shifting out of this pattern by learning to reconnect to food, your body, and your emotions, so you can do the deeper work and get to that ease and confidence around food and in your body and in your life, and really build this solid foundation of inner self-worth. So this is something we do inside of the Emotional Eating Evolution program. It's a process, and it's really about getting into what is triggering this pattern for you so we can resolve it and meet your deeper emotional needs so you can get to the other side and start, really giving yourself what you missed out on, becoming that inner mother, giving yourself the nourishment and the acceptance and the emotional attunement that you needed. So if you'd like to get started on this, you're ready to resolve your emotional eating and you want a first step, the first step I always give to clients is to learn to discern true from emotional hunger and to start catching those triggers, seeing how this pattern shows up in your life. And so if you want to get started on that, I have a free guide called What Are You Truly Hungry For? You can find it below. And if you want that support, you want to go deeper, you want to actually start moving through this pattern and get to the other side, then I'd love to invite you to find out more about my 12-week program, the Emotional Eating Evolution Program. It has a step-by-step process. There's weekly office hours. There's one-to-one sessions with me. There's the in-depth tools and meditations and processes to really get to the other side of this pattern. So if you'd like to find out more, the links will be below. If you have any questions about what I've shared today, please let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.